Before I begin, let me ask you a question. Are you a creative person? Excellent, so many of you here. Let me ask you another question. Since most of you here are B school students, how many of you plan to continue your creative hobbies after you get your dream job with a dream package? Excellent, I see so many hands. I'm surprised. And I'm surprised because the reality is far different. As per a recent survey, 75% of the individuals are unable to fulfill their creative potential after joining the workforce, even though they feel that creativity helps them in their professional as well as personal goals. Why is that so? Most of you here want to continue, but what we see in the data is that once people join workforce, they somehow give up their creative hobbies. Why do you think that is? Yes, that's right. When I ask this question to people around me, the common answer is time constraints. On the other hand, let's talk about these remaining 25% people who are able to balance both their jobs as well as creative hobbies. What happens to these people? Another interesting study. For these people, 25% people, we see that they surprisingly perform 15 to 30% better in their personal scores as well as in their performance evaluation cycles during their job appraisals. Quite an anomaly, right? This is what brings me to the concept of two clocks. Most of us, including myself, for a long period of time, we all live on one clock. One clock which we all know literally runs every second. But there are a select few who are trying to live their lives in two clocks. First clock, which is trying to chase their professional goals, and second, which is trying to chase their creative goals. Over the past couple of years, a lot of people have come to me and asked me this question. Anubhav, you have held several leadership positions in your corporate career. Yet at the same time, you're an author of 4 books, you're a yoga teacher, and you also run a fairly successful lifestyle and motivation blog. So how do you get time? My answer is, I don't. In fact, I get only as much as you do. But this question made me ponder that if time is indeed a constant factor in all our lives, then what is that other factor which makes some people do more number of tasks in the same amount of time? And it is this question which led me to what I call my productivity theory. As per this theory, whatever we achieve in life, which let's say we call output here, is determined by 2 factors, the constant factor, which is the time devoted, and something which is called as energy efficiency factor, the variable factor. Now, this is a very magical factor because time, of course, we have only 24 hours in a day. We can do nothing about it, unfortunately. But energy efficiency factor is a factor which maybe we can maneuver and change. But before we discuss on that, let me explain this concept a bit more. Let's say there's a task at hand, and this task requires 100 megawatt of energy to be completed in 1 single hour. Now we have 2 friends, friend A and friend B, and both these friends have equal IQ, equal EQ, and equal motivation levels. Yet, friend A is only able to utilize 20 megawatts of energy per hour, let's assume. And friend B is able to tap onto 80 megawatts of energy per hour. Naturally, if you do the math, you'll see that friend B will be able to do this task in a much lesser time compared to friend A, even though they are both equally smart. Now, at a micro level, you might argue this may not seem like a big deal. However, if you analyze this pattern day over day, week over week, month over month, year on year, you will realize that people who belong to the category of friend B are able to achieve a lot more tasks in the same time compared to the category of people who fall into friend A. Now, naturally, if you do believe to this theory, the next question you might ask is, okay, so we buy what is this energy efficiency factor, but is it something that we are all born with a fixed value? If I am 30% today, can I be 40%, 50%, 60%, 90% tomorrow? Or is it something that is just genetic, hereditary, and we can't do anything about it? The answer to that question, funnily, lies in this movie. How many of you here have seen this movie starring Bradley Cooper? Quite a few. For those who haven't, quick context. In this movie, Bradley Cooper plays the role of a struggling writer who's not able to do a lot of things in life. Suddenly, he discovers this magic pill which helps him overnight transform into a financial wizard. In fact, in the second half of the movie, I recall he's also trying to become, or at least aim for the position of President of the United States of America. Big deal from a person who is actually no one. So all this thanks to one pill, which helped him unleash the dormant energy residing in him. Now, of course, all of us would only wish that such a pill would exist in reality. Movies aren't reality. But what if I tell you they exist? There is a cure to this. There is a way through which we can optimize and increase our energy efficiency factor. Way back in 2015, I discovered my magic pill. Padmasadhana. Padmasadhana, a 45-minute power boosting ritual taught by the Art of Living Foundation. This sequence, let me explain how this sequence is the answer to what we are discussing so far. In a nutshell, Padmasadhana comprises of asanas, pranayama, and meditation. Starts off with asanas, and there are 12 set of asanas as you can see in the slide. These asanas help increase the blood circulation in each and every cell of your body. Not only that, they also help to harmonize your endocrine glands and also remove all kinds of lethargy and dullness that one often wakes up with early in the morning. Then comes the pranayama. And the pranayama technique here is the alternate nostril breathing technique, which helps remove all kinds of energy blockages in the body. This is extremely important because as per yogic science, there are 72,000 energy centers, or what they call as nadis, in our body. And it is highly likely that some of these energy centers are blocked for some of us, or most of us. This technique works right at the root. It also helps balance the left-hand side of the brain and the right side of the brain, both the analytical side as well as creative side. Lastly, after this pranayama follows a 20-minute meditation technique, which helps in stress management. And not only that, there's a recent research paper which states that 47%, that's the number of waking hours we spend on tasks which are not directly correlated to the task at hand. So what meditation does is, A, it helps calm your mind, B, helps improve focus, and C, and most importantly, it helps remove any kind of unnecessary distractions around you. There's a lot more to this technique than what I have described over the last couple of minutes. It's just a teaser. But in case any one of you are interested to know more about it, you can definitely connect with me later on. To end this, I would like to leave you all with some food for thought. We've all established the fact that managing two clocks, your creativity clock and your professional clock, is far easier said than done. However, to really get to the root of it, before we even start talking about any kind of techniques or practices or pills, let's talk about what are the questions that one needs to decipher. Broadly, there are two questions. Firstly, the why. We need to think, why are our creative hobbies or creative pursuits so dear to us? What value do they add in our lives? Secondly, once we have figured out the why, the how is it that you all plan to balance the two clocks, your creativity clock and the jobs or the professional career that you choose? Once you marry these two is when the magic happens. Increasing energy efficiency factor through yoga and meditation was what worked for me in the how, and it can work for most of you. But maybe there is another practice that can help you discover your how. Eventually, as they all say, the end will justify all the means. Thank you so much.